VPN malware is coming back, and we need to be concerned.
Karen, I hear you have a new story on VPNFilter, this time affecting some critical infrastructure overseas.
Yeah, exactly. A few days ago, the Ukrainian secret police announced that they had found some VPNFilter malware in their chlorine distillation plant, which covers basically their drinking water and their sewage systems for a huge part of the country. They stopped it before it caused any serious damage. They don't really know whether this was part of the original infiltration and it's just found its way, as these malwares do, or whether this was a new infiltration. But the thing that's really a little bit scary about this is that it was penetrating, as we know this can, these industrial control protocols.
You don't want to find out that your industrial control system is impacted by malware of this type when it kind of stops working. Because when that happens, you don't have clean water. You have a crisis on your hand, and it can impact the whole country, really.
Some of the interesting things is that the FBI told everybody, reboot your router. But the problem is that this malware really survives the reboot. And it's unclear exactly how everybody can find out whether this is impacting them, other than really just going back to kind of bare metal and starting all over again, because the malware can be in there and it can infiltrate these industrial controls, which we saw in this situation. Just rebooting isn't sufficient to eliminate the threat. So I think it is important to do, if you're in an enterprise environment, to do at least some amount of log analysis. Be careful about any kind of changes of your CPU utilization or any other triggers that would say to you that something is going on inside your network.
Did they talk about this threat being, or this malware being, like specific to like trying to target these, or did they have any idea if it was like accidental, meaning the malware could impact these types of devices and it was accidentally infecting them?
Well, they really don't know, and the article didn't say that. But the problem is that it could turn basically the industrial controls into a giant brick. And what's really scary, I think, is that you know, the kind of industrial control area hasn't really been hit so hard, and now we're finding that this is a particularly powerful weapon potentially for those industries or that type of equipment.
What's scary too is, you know, a lot of these systems are online, right? So everything's connected. There's really no good separation between like the IT side and the OT side. They're actually running all these different controls. So once you have access, you know, you can kind of jump laterally throughout and take things up and down. It's definitely concerning.
When you're having an industrial control environment, usually it shouldn't be exposed to the internet, right? It should be just operating within your own factory. And if there are reasons where it's going out to the internet, you want to make sure that that's very tightly regulated.
I think another challenge to discovering this type of malware is I think some of it impacts like routers, and a lot of organizations, they can do analysis like you know, inside the organization, but not outside the router interface. So if the router itself gets compromised and is doing something malicious, they might not have any way to analyze that or any way to detect it, really, which is probably those organizations kind of do have to work closer with their ISP or something like that to help them uncover such a situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And they also announced that the list of potentially infected devices was much longer than they had originally stated. So they have a new list out there. So again, you can find that out on the internet and understand whether or not anything that you have in your infrastructure is on that list. Hopefully it's not.
VPNFilter spreads by scanning devices that are open to the public internet. So if you have devices like that, you need to be able to track where your assets are, and what are you doing to protect them? Do you know what is scanning your devices? what are the adversaries interested in? Do you have some protections in front of those?